Hello and welcome to the Wisdom Writers podcast, where writers from around the world share stories and poems that spread love and inspiration. I'm Seamus, and every month we explore writing and insights to support you on your creative journey. Hello, dear fellow writers. After a long break, we have resumed our episodes where we ask our members a question. In this episode, we are going to talk about writer's block. Sounds scary, doesn't it? So, let's hear how our members overcome it.
I don't have writer's block often, but when I do, I try to look at different mediums of art to get inspired by, whether it be movies or poetry or paintings or music. I try to look at them in a way in which I could write something on. And it generally helps me to write a poem and get out of the writer's block.
What a wonderful source of inspiration you have. You are a true artist, Manga.
To be honest, rarely. But when it happens, I discuss with my friends or just to take a rest of it and listen to music. And the solution comes itself. I listen music when I want to describe sense of plot, and it really helps to improve the imagination. Music even helped me to get unbelievable inspiration that changed everything.
Yes, I agree with you, Amedonai. Music can really touch our hearts and souls and develop our imagination.
So the question, how often do I experience writer's block? I'd say for myself personally, I go through cycles once maybe every 3 or 4 months where I'll struggle to create content at a pace that I guess I feel is normal for myself. And in terms of overcoming that, I've always kind of agreed with the belief of Kurt Vonnegut that there are two types of writers, swoopers and bashers. A swooper being a writer who creates content quickly and kind of messy with the knowledge that they can go back and fix whatever it is that's imperfect. Or a basher, or someone who's more slow and meticulous, line by line in how they create content, and really seeking that perfection in its first form. And Vonnegut says if you write with one style and you begin to struggle, change it up. Maybe switch to the other. If you are slow and meticulous, maybe try rapid firing a bunch of poems. Or if your typical pace is much quicker than normal, maybe you should take it a bit slower and put some more thought into each line that you're going to write. But then again, I suppose it's different for every writer. But in my own experience, changing it up every so often has helped because you know the idea that you want to get out and it's not going anywhere. Realistically, there's no hurry. But you have to take care of yourself as a writer as well. Thank you.
That's wonderful advice, Mac. We hope our listeners will try it.
How often do you experience writer's block? And what tips do you have to overcome it? Well, I'm not a writer that is highly structured to begin with. I'm more spontaneous. So I guess I could say, sometimes the inspiration just comes to me. I get ideas in my head that I want to write about. Like I'll hear somebody say a particular something and it will trigger something inside of me. It's like a domino effect. I experience writer's block usually most often whenever I am distracted by the rest of the world. When I don't have time to embrace my imagination, when I'm just too overrun with stress. I think the best way to overcome writer's block is to work in concert with other writers. Just work on group projects. Collaborations is something I have a lot of fun with, you know. I think like-minded people provide a lot of inspiration for one another in meaningful ways without having to exert a lot of effort to achieve it. Whether you're just riffing with other writers or you're just reading some classics or maybe watching old movies, things like that, whatever makes you feel connected to your literary influences / heroes, whatever. The Wisdom Writers community provides me an opportunity to be able to work closely with other budding writers. And like I said, I really enjoy working in concert and working collaboratively with other writers here. So yeah, that's about it. I don't actually write for a living, so I don't have any timetables to uphold. So I don't ever really feel pressured. That makes it a bit easier for me. And whenever I do feel like I need to come up with something, usually I think about it really, really hard, and then I'll pray about it, and then I'll go to sleep. And when I wake up the following day, I'll have answers to the questions that I was asking. I'll have direction. I just can't force it in the moment. There's like a maturation process or a fermentation process, if you will, for my thought processes. But whenever the imagination ball gets rolling, it's pretty difficult to stop it. Anyway, I appreciate you taking the time to let me share. Thanks.
These are wonderful words, Ghost. Indeed, collaboration can be very inspiring, and we are happy that you have that opportunity.
Okay, so I don't think I experience it commonly, but when I do, I just look back at what I already wrote. Like the poems I'm really proud about, I'm looking at them and like, wow, people really enjoy it. I'm capable of doing such things. And then I look at the blank page and I'm seeing opportunity, not like pure emptiness, but something to be filled, like the void, the gaping hole that you put your words into, your thought, your imagination, your creativity. You just put it all together for the world to enjoy, and you convey like this bigger meaning of something being created, something being so beautiful. You actually like want to share it with others, not just sit there and be like, oh, what's the right word here? What can I do? Like, what does fit my style? No, you don't think about it. You just go with the flow. You just start writing, and in the moment it catches you. It guides you through what you already done and what is yet to come. Thank you.
Beautifully said, Sasa. Thank you for sharing.
So, to be very honest, I am a fairly novice writer. I haven't been writing for too long, and my frequency is around once in a couple of months. So, honestly, I am not the best person to comment on writer's block because I myself, to the best of my memory, haven't faced it yet. But from what I have learned from other people, I think writer's block is basically like you're facing a wall and it's very difficult to climb up that wall and cross that. So, and something that I think that is very similar to it is hesitation, which I would like to at least agree that I have faced a lot of times while writing. And to be very honest, my thought process when when I hesitate while writing, not just because of the lack of ideas, but also because of what I think might be the outcome of those ideas. I just start writing. It's like I start something, I write something. It can be my thoughts. I just don't write story. I just start moving my pen basically. It doesn't have to be comprehensible. It can be in the worst of the handwriting. I personally like to write with a pen and paper instead of typing first whenever I'm faced with this situation, because I don't know, holding a pen in my hand makes it seem more natural. So I just start writing. I start writing my thoughts. I basically sometimes I sit down for writing a story, and 10 minutes later I realize that I'm writing a journal, not for the purpose of the story, but for the purpose of getting me into the flow of writing. And in that sense, if someone is afraid that their ideas won't be good, from what I have realized from my very short experience in writing is that sometimes people, and myself included, keep waiting for the perfect sentence, the perfect mood, the perfect inspiration, but usually it never comes. And sometimes people could say that writer's block is just perfection in disguise. Maybe it's not, again. It's just my thought process. So, again, uh, according to me, one of the best ways to overcome it is just write. Write anything. Write your thoughts. Make it a journal. You sit down to write a story, start writing a journal. Who cares? Just write. Write messy. Write incomplete sentences, random thoughts, because I think the goal is not the quality, the end goal is the movement. And it's like, how should I say this? Because writing is like pushing a stuck door. If it doesn't open with one big push, you gotta push it repeatedly, slowly. But at the end, after repeated attempts and small pushes, it will open at one point. So what I'm trying to say is you don't exactly have to wait for inspiration for the writer's block to come over. Maybe you could just start writing anything again and let the ideas catch up to you and see how that goes. Yeah, thank you.
That's an interesting metaphor, Bruce. I totally agree that it's important not to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect sentence.
Uh, so I'm going to answer a question for the Wisdom Writers podcast that asks, how often do you experience writer's block, and what tips do I have to overcome it? Well, writer's block is something that occurs to every writer at some point of their journey. And throughout the process of writing, there are several steps that one must go through to make sure that their story takes that final form and sounds and looks polished to the reader and seems interesting. And this could be quite a difficult and arduous task for a lot of writers. So for me personally, the writer's block usually, honestly speaking, occurs when I'm writing a story that I do not know the direction of. So, for example, if I've been writing something and maybe it could stem from an idea that really excites me, right? The premise could be interesting, or maybe the interaction of two characters with distinct personalities could be interesting. And that is what makes me take upon the story and start writing it. However, when I do not know where I need to take the story, that's when I face writer's block. Uh, So it could be in anything. For example, it could be with a poem with a particular theme, or it could be a short story, or it could be you writing a screenplay, or any sort of written material, as a matter of fact, for that. So, honestly, writer's block would never occur to you if you have already planned out what you're writing, and if you have something that you would honestly strongly want to say. That is, you know the definite direction of where you want to take it and how you want to begin with it and how you want to end it. And if that is certain, sure, you would need to look up structures and words here and there and how to phrase things better. But I do not believe that you would face writer's block or, like a dead end where your idea gets nowhere, because you know how to treat that particular concept and what you want to express and how you want the reader to feel while reading that particular segment of writing. On the other hand, if you want to put yourself under some pressure, if you have an idea that's exciting and you want to take it in a particular direction, or if somebody has told you to write about a certain theme or a certain topic, or maybe as a commission or as a challenge, or whatever the reason might be, or you want to test your skills or any sort of thing like that, that's when you test your skills as a writer. In that case, you need to lay down the whole structure of all the material that you have. You need to list down what information you have been given and how much you can explore with it, right? What are your core concepts? What it truly means, what the elements are, and you should see how they interact with each other, how much freedom you have with the concept you're dealing with, and how much you're allowed to alter, and how much you feel that should be, thematically fixed in order to maintain the theme or the core and the heart of the story or any sort of written material that you're dealing with. In that case, if it is a story, you should see that the story or the poem starts in a way that captures the reader's attention, all right? Because it's always the hook that brings the readers in, brings the publishers in, all right? And once you have finalized that, once you're sure that it captures the essence of your story, because all great books are known for their first and last lines, then a little bit of your job is already done. Every strong start is really important to make sure that you go ahead very well with your writing, because it gives you confidence when you look back at the material that you have, when you get an idea, because, it really makes you feel good that, oh, I've really come up with something good. I need to continue this further so that this does not go to waste, right? And once you come up with something interesting, you need to make sure that it leads to something that further connects to the idea that the line expresses. Elaborate on it further, or have a key concept that is later explored in the writing. All right. And your sentences need to connect to each other as you move forward with the story. There has to be a link with each sentence. Maybe the first sentence is something that gives you information or exposition about the topic, the idea, and the next sentence elaborates on it further, uses adjectives to describe the scenery around, because it all happens in the reader's head, right? So the better your words are, the more lucid it is, the better it is for the reader. And once you're done with that, keep moving forward. and you must know where you need to take your story, because you can't just come up with whims and fancies on the spot and then think that, oh, this might be interesting, this might be nice, and just keep putting it. And in the end, when it's time for a payoff, when you just look at the story all together, give it a read, you realize that something happened in the beginning, but it doesn't make sense in the middle or the end, and then they clash with each other, and that's where it falls apart. So before you put things together, you should take you should think of the big pieces and see what they stand for, right? That's why I said you have to list down all the important things that you're given with to start the story. All right. And then you should see how those pieces lead into each other and what they have to say. Like what core essence or idea, what core value they're dealing with. Are they opposing, or are they going together? Or are they a reflection of something that we see around us? Or is it something we wish to see around us? And then when you're sure of that, develop them individually in their own places, and then you piece them together until they lead into each other within the story. And then when they interact with each other, take them further in the story. And then that's where you can come up with better ideas to see how you could take them in a certain direction that you have already thought of, and what best interaction between them would describe the idea that you're wanting to convey to the reader, right? And the conclusion is also really important, because that's something you leave the reader with. That's what they keep thinking about when they close the book, right? So make sure that you end on a note that suits the story, because if you leave on a cliffhanger and if it makes no sense, it puts off the reader. Or if you have no idea how to end your story and you just leave it midway somewhere, and just abandon characters hastily, without making sense, that puts off the reader as well. So you need to make sure how you want to conclude this, because as in real life, you have no conclusions to our stories, because our stories just keep going on every day, right? So that's what you would have to think about in a story that you are writing, right? That how you would want to leave the story that stays with the reader. Should it be optimistic or pessimistic, or just left to subjective imagination? That's something that should be one of the key elements that you should think of when you come up with the other key elements that I described about earlier. And when you have thought of all this, the beginning, the middle, and the conclusion, and you lead all of it into each other, that's when you come up with a good story. And a good story is something that you feel good about, right? You feel that this has something important to say, something that means something, right? Something that means something to you. So that's what I think helps you overcome writer's block. Sketch things out, plan it, and take inspiration from things around you. Do not overburden yourself, and let things go for a while if you feel burnt out. Just know that ideas do not come when you try to squeeze them out. They come out when you realize that this is something that needs to be said. All right. So those were my views on the question, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, Faizan, for such a detailed answer. That was very insightful. Wow, that was very insightful and inspiring. Thank you everyone for sharing your experiences. Writer's block is a really common problem, and your support can make a big difference. Before we finish, I would like to share a poem. The poem of this episode is Down by the Sally Gardens by William Butler Yeats. Down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow-white feet. She bid me take love easy, as the leaves grow on the tree, but I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. In a field by the river, my love and I did stand, and on my lingus soldier she laid her snow-white hand. She bid me take life easy, as the grass grows on the weirs. But I was young and foolish, and now I'm full of tears. So this concludes this episode of the Wisdom Writers podcast. Thank you once again to all our members, and we hope to see you on the next episode. This was the Wisdom Writers podcast. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode, and remember, writing is its own reward.